Today's Extra.
Welcome back to the Anglers Extra pregame show. I'm Jack Smith, joined by Sheets for the Manager's Show. Sheets, you've had a day to process it now after the first off day of the season. How would you evaluate this team through the four-game start?
You know, still living and learning. That's like the thing I keep preaching to guys. Like, I think we're all getting adjusted. We're all getting comfortable. I think the more you play, you learn. We're learning a lot about the league. We're learning a lot about each other. We're learning what works and what doesn't work. And I think one of the critical pieces I come back to, and I've already hit them with, is self-awareness. You got to recognize and be honest with yourself. These things are really working. These are things I like. These are things that I can put numbers behind and go, okay, this is working. And then there's things that you got to look at and go, I'm not so great in that area. And you got to be honest, and you got to reevaluate. And I talk about this, life's a game of adjustments, well, so's baseball. And we got to make some. And some of the guys, we've having some critical conversations with them, but it's all about putting them in the right positions to be successful. And I like where we're heading.
What do you think is working for this team right now versus what's not working?
Yeah, obviously from the pitching side of things, we're doing awesome stuff, man. We're pitching well. We're playing good defense for the most part. I think there's some couple things that in some of those games, some of those opportunities maybe open up holes for other teams to walk through. And we're still trying to find our identity offensively. But, man, it's tough when you've got a lot of moving pieces and you got guys that are maybe thinking about the wrong things. And one of the things we've talked about with the guys is, man, there's no room in the box for thinking. You got to have a plan. You got to trust it. But once that settles in, man, still think we got a great team, and just trying to have some patience with it and trust the process and see where it ends up.
You've preached to me about how good this league is and how there's dudes everywhere. Have you had to make any adjustments given the level at this league compared to at Georgia Gwinnett?
Man, I'm still trying to figure out my path in that, to be fair. Like, I know how I would coach it. I know how we would play it. I know how – I'll give you an example. I know how we would go about scoring runs. We average 13 runs a game. I know how to do that within our team and our league and our personnel, but none of these guys were sold on that. None of these guys were recruited to that. And so it's trying to figure out how to bring an offensive mentality into this environment. And still working through it, and still, for us, taking information and seeing what works and what doesn't work. But at the end of the day, there's this breaking point of, trying to get guys in the right positions versus, hey, this is what we're going to do moving forward. And so I'm still trying to walk that line with them. I'm still very conscious of these guys getting used to the Cape, period. Being up here, the level of competition, the competitiveness of the league, those things still matter. And so we're still trying to work through some of that.
How do you balance knowing that this league is difficult and trying to put in the changes that you want to see?
I wish you had that answer for me. I was actually going to ask you if you had something for me on that. I don't know. I was just talking with a couple buddies about that. Like, I don't want to use the whole summer to find those answers, but, man, I definitely have the long-term vision of I need to take in as much information. The more games you coach, the more you see, the more you play teams a couple times, you see tendencies. But I've also got to live and die on my hill, and I've got to live and die with what I know works and what doesn't work. And I'm still trying to balance what that is. There's wants and needs of fans. There's wants and needs of organizational pieces. There's a lot of different critical factors involved. But at the end of the day, I'm still in that dugout. So I'm still trying to figure out what those things are, and we'll get there.
We've had a day in between, but I've got to ask you about the loss at Hyannis. What do you think went wrong?
You haven't moved on yet? It was 2 days ago, Jack.
I got to ask you about it. What went wrong?
Well, you don't have to, but you did, and so we'll talk about it. It's one of those, again, man, I'm going to be so redundant on this until it just sinks in with everybody's mentality. You got to move on. It's just part of it. Like, look, the best team in this league this summer is going to go 24-16. 24-16. They're going to lose 16 games. It's going to happen. But I think for us, it's part of it. And I think if the more that you dive into it and you pull out the lessons from it, you can go, that worked, that didn't work. Here's an adjustment. This actually I'm going to stick with. And that's part of this whole journey. For me, myself as a coach, for these guys as players, it's part of that process, man. I was at the beach this morning. I was way far removed from that loss, so I hope you get there with me.
How do you approach using an off day for relaxation compared to using it for baseball?
Man, off day was for relaxation. We put our toes in the beach, and I was there for about 3 hours with my kids. And, yeah, I'm thinking about baseball, man. I'm enjoying time with my wife and my children. So I think, again, man, this is summer baseball. And I know there's a lot of passion about it, and I'm certainly passionate about it. But from a mental health standpoint, and I told the players, don't even come to the field. Go to the beach. Go walk around Main Street. Go go have a nice sandwich at the Squire and just enjoy your time here, man. Like, and I think for them to be able to do that, that's the full experience of what this is. It's a great environment. It's an awesome environment. It can do great things for them in their career, but they still got to enjoy it. I don't want them to walk away and go, yeah, it was great baseball, but man, I never really saw Chatham. I want them to get to know Chatham and the community, and I know a lot of them did, and I certainly did with myself and my family.
I'm Jack Smith with Sheets here, who's enjoying his time in Chatham on the Manager's Show.
Yes,
Sheets, it's Chatham versus Orleans for the first time this year. What have you heard about the rivalry between Chatham and Orleans?
Yeah, apparently it's a big deal. I mean, I love Kelly Nicholson to death. I've loved him for a lot of years, so I noticed that my hug with him wasn't as tight, and I'm gonna blame that on him because I come in with the full strength, and he kind of backed off a little bit, like there's a little blood in the water. Yeah, I hear it's a great rivalry. Obviously, we're super close. A lot of good battles over the years. Certainly, I love walking into this place. Great field, great dugout, probably the best dugout we've had set up so far. So I'm excited about standing on that rail tonight. But it should be good baseball. I'm sure they have a good team just like we do, and it'll be fun to see us compete against each other.
Chatham and Orleans for the first time here today at Eldridge Park. Sheets, again, thank you for your time on the Manager's Show.
Thanks so much, Jack. Appreciate you, baby.